Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast where I interview space holders from all over the world. I'm your host, my name is Karolina, and I'm the manifestation mentor. Today on the show, we have Shaan, the soul purpose and spiritual life coach. Welcome to the show, Shaan. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited and so elated to be here, by the way. Yeah. So I'm doing great. I am very looking forward to it. It was such a random switch we made. So always excited to start things spontaneously. So here I am.
Amazing. I'm very excited too because the things that we are going to touch upon today are very, very relevant for me right now in my life. Because for the last few days, I've been questioning, am I actually following my soul's purpose? Am I in alignment with my Dharma and all these things? And I would love to talk to you about it because your background and where you come from is really big on all this stuff. And so I would love to start with the definition of Dharma first, if anyone who listens doesn't really know what it is.
Exactly, for sure. So, dharma is a word that has been widely and vaguely and very vastly used in Indian and Hindu philosophy. It also comes from Buddhist roots, but it has so many meanings. So, if you look up online or if you go ahead and read Vedas and everything, the ancient scriptures from India, so you will find it has multiple meanings. But the context that we are talking about right now, or the context that it is supposed to be when it comes to life purpose, is literally what exactly is your purpose in life, what you came here to do, what you came here to share with other people, what your mission is. So that is what dharma means in that context. That being said, dharma has variety of definitions, and one of them is living your truth. So eventually everyone dharma ends up being enlightenment or seeking the spiritual path. So we, as a humanity, we also have a collective dharma, yes, but we also have individual dharma, how you channelize that collective dharma through you. So one person can channelize it by being a spiritual life coach, another person can channelize it by being an engineer. So it can depend upon different people, but it's who you authentically are. Expression, your personal expression. Yeah.
So from this standpoint, it's not something that is changing for us over life if this is coming from our truth and our essence, or can it change and shift depending on what we authentically feel in the moment?
Exactly. That's quite a question because it does happen. As kids, we had this perception that we're gonna find this one career and we're gonna go ahead with life, just like marriage happens somehow in our heads. So that has been a perception that has been fed to us that once you adopt this thing, you are gonna go ahead with this for the entire life. But what happens as we, as consciousness, and we as humans evolve, dharma is also gonna evolve and it's gonna change. One day you want to write a book about dharma, and the other day you might want to be all of a sudden all about embodiment, for example, right? So things keep shifting, things keep changing. As you evolve, your dharma also evolves. As you evolve, the message that you share also evolves. So it's gonna keep changing, yes, but it's also gonna be, there's also this underlying thing to it. There's gonna be underlying authentic thread to it which can stay same, but it does not have to, obviously.
So how do we know if this is our dharma or not? Because from my perspective, we can sometimes have our decisions and behaviors and actions that we take from the place of egoic identification, meaning our patterns, our programs, our society and culture and what other people want us to do rather than our true essence. So what is, like, are there any helpful questions or specific ways to discover our dharma, to know that, okay, this is it for sure, rather than something that someone has told me at some point and now it's just programmed within me?
Exactly. So there are a set of questions we can ask ourselves. There are a set of feelings we can assess that, okay, I'm feeling like this while following this passion of mine, so this could be my dharma. That being said, one of the key things that need to be emphasized is that dharma does not have to be just one thing. You can have multiple things happening and they can be expression of your soul purpose, your life purpose, or your dharma. So yeah, the question to ask is, does this excite you? Does it serve others? Will you do it for free? Not that you have to, but had there been a situation that you would just love to share this wisdom, you would love to do this thing, would you just absolutely do it for no exchange? So these are the questions we can always ask ourselves and be like, okay, if I am ready to do it for free, if I'm ready to do it no matter what, if I feel excited just by the thought of it, and if it is also helping others, if it is serving others, most probably this is your dharma.
And what if, for example, in my life, I told you that recently I've been reevaluating my dharma and my purpose in here, because at some point, let's say for the last 3 months, I was very excited about something that I was creating, but I had a situation with one of my clients that completely smashed me when it comes to like emotions and let's say confidence and certainty in doing this specific thing. And so now I feel like, okay, I have been excited about it for the last few months and I still haven't even fully completed what I wanted to do. But right now, because of this situation, I feel like it has completely flipped 180 degrees everything that I've already built within myself, the confidence, the certainty, like this is it, this is my path, and this is what I'm supposed to do, and it's like a 10-year vision and whatever. And now it all pretty much went to shit because I'm just like, I don't have motivation, I don't feel passion towards it at all, I don't feel like I want to do things that I wanted to do just a moment ago, because like it completely just flipped. And even now, after I released the emotions that attracted the situation, manifested this situation in my life, I don't have this emotional charge behind it anymore, but it still took away all my motivation, all my passion, all my drive to do this very specific program, right? So how do I discover if it's only about temporary state that I'm in versus if it's the universe telling me, look, you're not supposed to go this way?
Exactly. So it's very common for us all to go through phases in Dharma. It's very common, just like we talk about emotional spiral. It's as if anytime you are going through anything, you're gonna go ahead and dig deeper into it just to discover the deep-rooted beliefs in it. Exactly the process that you just talked about, that you have released the emotions and everything. Dharma, when it goes through evolution, just like we as human beings go through our individual evolutions, we're gonna go through highs and lows to see if it is gonna. Some things we can only figure out in hindsight. That being said, even though there will be times when you feel the loss of motivation, loss of the drive to do it, there are gonna be things that you're like, okay, maybe I can work on this aspect of it and then I can motivate myself. Maybe I can work on this small element of this business and then I can feel excited about it. So these things this is gonna be more of a journey, more of a process, but it's more gonna be that, okay, I can feel if just a part of it is making you feel like that, then it is not something to question. It is just a phase where we can add some elements to this dharma of ours. We can add extra things that can excite us. But if you feel that the entirety of it is on the verge of losing motivation and not doing it at all, then maybe we want to rest a bit and we want to see how it goes. Because as people, as humans, we have this tendency to be always on the fire, always on go mode. I'm excited about it, I'll make it happen, I'll do this, everything. Whenever such signals comes from the universe, I think universe is all it's saying is, settle back, be patient, answers are gonna unfold to you. Same happens with dharma, right? So we always talk about 3 phases in dharma. So in Ayurveda we have 3 things: Vat, Pith or Kapha. That Vat is air element, someone who occupies the very airy element. Pitta is when it is very fiery, and Kapha is when it is earthy. So all of these elements are what make us. Even in dharma these elements are there. So there's gonna be dharma phases in our dharma when we'll be in our pitta element. We'll be all about, I'll make this happen, I'll do this, I'll rock it, I'll create things. So very fiery element. Then if we do not give ourselves the pause ourselves, we are gonna be like, universe is gonna give us a kick and it's gonna be like, okay, now it's your time to be in Kapha. Kapha is more restful. Stay stationary, focus on yourself, see how things are unfolding, take a slow pace, things like that. And then there is also this third phase which is called Vata. These phases keep going. So you start with Vata. Vata is very airy. When you have ideas, that phase when you're all excited, oh, I'll create a podcast, I'll create my coaching program, I'll write my book, I'll do this, all of that. And then from Vata we have to come to Pitta. Why? Because all the ideas are not gonna go anywhere if we do not execute them. So Pitta is the phase of execution. Then comes Kapha, when you're like, okay, now I've created this thing, maybe I need to take a step back, maybe I need to rest a bit, maybe I need to nurture myself. So all of these phases are gonna keep going in our life, and we just need to embrace them as they come. So you probably could be that you have worked so hard and you've been all fiery. Now maybe you need to just give yourself some space.
Yeah, I just feel like I've been giving myself space for the last 2 weeks and it doesn't seem like it's changing at all. I still don't feel like working. I burned myself out completely, where I was working daily and just with a little break for food. and then my body said like, okay, I'm literally not able to work at all. And for the last 2 weeks I barely did anything. I mean, I did things here and there, like I had podcast schedules or some sessions or whatever, but not in the way that was towards my purpose, towards what I originally thought that I'm gonna do. And that's why I'm just questioning, because like if I don't feel motivated still, like if I burned myself out, like I don't know, actually I've never had a burnout before, so it's hard for me to say, right? I've never, literally it never happened to me earlier, so I don't know how long it takes for people, or it will take for me to even get back on track. But I'm also thinking, well, maybe I'm supposed to do something completely else, because right now my business is all online, and maybe I'm supposed to be in person with people, because this is where I actually really blossom and really thrive. And so do you have any helpful questions for someone in a situation like me to discover, like, okay, is this the way to go, or is it just universe slapping me and being like, wake the F up, like you're not supposed to go this direction?
Yeah. One thing that I would like to specifically mention is that whenever we talk about burnout, whenever we talk about rest has to not just happen from an outside perspective. What I mean by that is, you will say that, okay, I am resting. So because if you see my schedule is all set, and I'm resting very well. I am resting because I'm not working on anything. But would you say that your mind is at rest? Would you say that you're not at all thinking about that situation?
Oh, absolutely not.
Exactly.
No, absolutely not. My mind is crazy.
Exactly. And there was intensity to the situation. So you must have heard of this example, that whenever we guys go through an accident physically, we understand it very well that, that it has to be healed. It has to take the time that it has to take for it to happen, the healing to happen. We don't see that very same thing when it comes to, mental aspects of us. That situation, probably the way you are talking to me, it seems that it really had an intense impact on you. It really made you rethink your dharma, which is a very big thing, because I see that you are a very passionate person and you love doing what you're doing, right? So yeah, so if that intensity was there, if that intensity happened, and whatever way, so we also need to take rest in such a way that we really feel calmed. So maybe you need to rest in a little different way. You have to ask yourself, in what way will I feel nurtured? In what way will those thoughts go away, or maybe in what way I can nurture my mind, my spirit, my soul. So that could be one of the elements. Yeah.
I love that, absolutely. And yeah, it's so true that sometimes even if our body is resting, our mind is not resting, and then we can feel tired just because of our mind being so crazy. And I mean, I've had moments, of course, that I was resting. I was on 2 festivals the last 2 weeks, and I was just like, music and friends and all these beautiful things. And I felt like I rested there. I didn't even look at my phone. I just recorded a video or took a picture from time to time, but there was no network. So the universe was like, no, you cannot even be on your phone right now. You cannot even work, because there's literally no option for that. So I did feel like I'm resting in some ways with my mind, for sure. But it's true that now that I'm like questioning, I'm not in a restful phase in my mind, because I'm questioning constantly. So I'm asking myself questions inside, right? So it's not really rest if I'm constantly like re-evaluating what I'm doing and how am I supposed to do things and so on. So thanks for that reminder, because I feel like, sometimes we need to have a hygiene of like all parts of us. So the body is like resting, but then the mind should also rest. And even meditation is harder in these phases when you are in this kind of like loop. And even if I do my best to just calm down, it's so much harder in this state right now than if like in everyday life when I'm like know where I'm going, right? So what would you do if you had troubles meditating in these phases, let's say?
Exactly. So when you're shifting from Pitta phase to Kapha phase, which means that you were very fiery at one go, and now even though that fire has gone away, the mind, the mental aspect of us is not deciding or choosing to rest on its own. So what we will do is we'll go it in a very different way. So instead of meditating as per the norm, we would maybe meditate in ways which is like releasing of emotions, which is like, sometimes if you are feeling a lot of anger, that I put so much effort into it and all of a sudden I'm feeling like that everything is going to trash, even if it is not, just the feeling of it, put it out there, express it. There can be pillow beating or anything like that. meditation in a way which will support this phase. In this phase, you can't just sit quietly and close your eyes and feel all meditative. That's going to be a little harder, I would say. So just go ahead with very dynamic meditations. Go ahead with, more physical movements. I heard that you went to for festival, so I believe there would be some dancing, there would be some expression, time with friends and everything like that. That is a good phase, and it's no wonder that you were also able to feel restful in your head at that time. So one thing is to distract yourself, other thing is to channel your emotions through that. We don't want to avoid the emotions, yes, but we also don't want them to be always in our subconscious at the back of our head, and we don't want to force ourselves to meditate per se, right? So I would suggest that just dynamic movements or very pitta kind of fiery kind of meditations would be the best option right now.
Yeah, I resonate with that a lot. I was dancing a lot the last few days, just like moving my body because, the movement of energy, if you're just getting into the flow, you can intentionally just move all the stuff that is happening. And emotional release, I mean, for me, it's on a daily basis recently. And I don't know if it's not even the energy of the world right now or some planets governing us or whatever, because I literally never felt like I feel right now. And even my bestie did a poll on Instagram, like, how are you guys doing? Are you feeling fine or are you feeling shit? And like 75% said we're feeling shit. So I don't believe it's only me, I believe there's some planets, some astrological stuff going on. And I actually personally really love blaming things on the planets. So that's what I'm going to choose to do. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know what has impacted you in a way that you knew that this is my Dharma. When did you discover your own soul purpose in life?
Oh, that's a big question, right? So I would say that even as a kid, I was always very aware or very confident that what I'm gonna do, I'm always gonna do as per my desire, because I know what I love and I'm just gonna execute. I was a very dreamy and confident person, which I love the mixture of. You can be dreamy but not be confident. You can be confident but not be dreamy. I love that. So when I grew up, I noticed that I always wanted to be a writer, but I was like, how am I gonna pursue that passion of mine and everything? Then discovered psychology later on. All of these things were interesting to me, and I always wanted to give them a shot because I believed in myself. So I kept pursuing. I ended up doing my master's in psychology, then I did my yoga teacher training, then I did my spiritual life coaching and Dharma coaching course. All along the way, I have only followed one thread. A, that I am hyper excited about it. B, it is helping me and others at the same time. And third was, it was giving me a sense of self-expression. So whenever I talk to someone, if I feel that no matter what happens, I want to convey this message out there because this message is so needed, I feel it in my heart, like I feel it. So the journey to discover my Dharma has less been about finding what interests me. I already to certain extent was aware what interests me. It has more been about being confident in my expression to others that this interests me and I'm gonna do this. This interests me, this message is very specific and very heartfelt to me, and I'm gonna go ahead and share it with others. So did go through my own ups and downs for sure in life, where I was like, okay, I need psychology in my life, so why not pursue it as a subject, is how my journey began. Then I realized I need therapy and I became a therapist. I did take therapy myself as well. So that is how the journey went ahead. My own spiritual journey, my own passion, my own everything led me to sharing the very same thing with others. And now I think I am, like with every year I've noticed I'm growing even more passionate about it. The field gets diversifying for sure. Like every time, one day I want to write a book and the other few days after I want to create a podcast, which is amazing. I love the airiness and the vata aspect of it, but at the same time I'm able to execute it, and I can share it in such a way where I am confident that I can bring about change and others can also feel the transformation. So I think that answers the question. I found my Dharma through following the things which really were relevant to me and things I think world also needs in when it comes to transformation.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And what about the people who have tried all these different things and they were excited about what they did, but then the spark kind of just disappeared, and then they maybe went on to try another thing and then the spark disappeared? What about these people? Like, what would you say to them?
Exactly. Most of the time, when spark disappears, it's not just because the spark was there, not there, it was already there, but it was also about that society also put certain conditioning onto us that, okay, you do this, you decide to be a musician, but these are the negative points about being a musician, that you will have to face this, you will have to face this, you'll have to face that, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I can't see my future in it, what is the point? All of a sudden that. Usually in when we talk about dharma, people who have tendency to start a project and not complete it and leave it midway have very vata tendencies. They are very airy. So whenever we are dealing with dharma, we have to put in effort to, whenever we want to put it out there, whenever we want to share our interests, that we take it through the execution part. So that also comes down to psychology aspect of it. Do you have that personality that anything you start you end up dropping it, or are you really interested in the thing that you are saying interested in, or did someone else share it with you and all for a quite bit of time you got interested, but now you realize that this is not my interest, I'm taking on just someone else's interest. So yeah, so this loss of spark is going to be very individual based as well, but usually these are the denominators that end up showing up.
Beautiful. And do you have any specific tools apart from asking these deep questions, for example, like a meditation or like some other kind of psychological work to know where it is caused by our patterns and our internal blockages in a way that we just have a pattern of dropping things after a while, or
Exactly.
maybe you have specific like heart connection meditation where you listen to your heart, because to me I like to sit in meditation and just really breathe into my heart and then imagine my heart literally in front of my eyes and just have a conversation with it really in meditation, like okay, what do you really desire, like is this aligned, what I'm doing right now, is this aligned with you, just literally treating my heart as another person that I'm having a conversation with. And I found that connecting to your heart, because it's a bridge between our physical and our spiritual world, really helps to get clarity on the next steps. So do you have any favorite tools?
Oh yeah. So basically in Dharma we have a lot of tools. For example, there's this one thing called Dharma Chakra method. Dharma Chakra method is all about that how you can channel your Dharma through crown is the chakra from where we receive ideas. And if we work on our crown, then third eye is where we are intuitively attuned to it and we gather on the knowledge. Throat is when we begin to express it to others. Heart is where we start sharing it in such a way that it help others. Solar plexus is when the execution starts and you are like, okay, now I'm confident enough and maybe now I can start my social media page, for example. Sacral is when you're like, okay, I can feel the joy that it brings to me. Root is when we are like, now I'm gonna physically manifest it. So all of these processes, so there is chakra clearing process to it, there is inner child healing process to it, and the very same process that you said, talk to your heart, just like that, talking to various parts of you. Okay, this part of my mind is saying this, my heart is saying this, and my body is saying this, but I need this. Differentiating between wants and needs is also one of the very relevant, process whenever we're talking about dharma, because there are so many times that someone wants to be like, I desire this, but I am here. Accepting where you are is where we start the journey. So yeah, a lot of methods in regards to chakra healing and talking with your parts.
And how do you differentiate between needs and desires for people who maybe don't know how to separate them both?
Exactly. So needs and desires, whenever we talk about needs come down to very root chakra, very base level. They are like, okay, I need this to nurture myself. I need this to support myself. Whenever we are dealing with needs, you're going to be very grounded when you experience them. For example, food, you can't question if I need food or not. You don't eat it for a while and then you'll be like, okay, I'll have to now. Example, not that being said, there are exceptions as well. So yeah, similar like that, desires are going to be very airy in nature. You can just not execute them. Do they have an executive functioning to them? I desire that I want this, but when needs are something we need to fulfill in a very short duration and we have to be very consistent with fulfilling them. For example, need to be seen, need to be heard. You don't feel seen for a very long time and you're not going to be able to fulfill this desire of yours that is in your head. But once needs are fulfilled, that's how the process of getting to desire start. So yeah, so on a very energetic level, desires are going to be very airy in nature. Needs are going to be very grounding in nature. They'll put you to ease, they will put you in the now, while desires are going to be like, okay, all in the air.
Yeah, and desires usually I associate with something, as you said, needs are like for here and now, and we need to take care of them. It's more like a instinctual thing rather than something as a,
Exactly.
like a bonus to our life, right? Because needs are more like, okay, this is a base, this is a foundation from where I can go further. Whereas desires are more like extras, more like bonuses to our experience as well. But desire can be also very, very strong. And I feel like a lot of spiritual, let's say, people, or just generally these ideas that desire is something wrong, or we're not supposed to have desire. Or even I think in Buddhism, some of the people say like, okay, if we don't have desire, we don't suffer. So it's better not to have desire so that we don't suffer. But I actually feel like it's not really about desires, because we cannot really stop having desires. We can stop being attached to them being fulfilled, but it's the attachment
Yeah.
and not the other thing that is causing us suffering, not the desire itself. So I'm curious what you think about that.
Oh, 100% resonate with it. And being working in the field of dharma, I think this is one of the common questions that I deal with people who identify as being spiritual, because it ends up being, I'm meditating, I'm being vegan, I'm doing this, all of the tick marks that we have being a spiritual person these days. And then you talk to them, and then you're like, okay, but I'm not supposed to have desires. But I'm okay. Then how is human consciousness ever gonna evolve? The moment that enters into the picture, we are actually involving the entire humanity. Had the chat GPT desire not been there, we would not have so many resolutions at our hands. That's it. Desires is how desires can be one of the paths to human evolution. And it's not about can be, it is actually one of the paths to human evolution. So the moment we eradicate desire from it, we are eradicating that, okay, you're going to live a very passive life then, because you don't have any fire, any passion for anything, you don't want to execute thing and everything like that. But that being said, I think there could be a desireless path, but I don't know if how it is physically gonna happen or mentally gonna happen for a person to all of a sudden decide I'm not gonna desire anymore and it's gonna happen. I think this has to flow through you. Even desire to not have a desire is a desire again. So
Exactly, exactly. It's still a desire if you don't want to have a desire.
yeah, that's it. So if you are
So,
just
so it's
questioning your
impossible to
humanness.
have it.
Yeah.
It's impossible, but it's actually really funny. I feel like the work that we can do internally is just about the resistance to not having this desire met, right? And but also I feel like with needs, I'm curious about your perspective as well, because like if we're talking about life's purpose, but generally also about our fulfillment in life, right? Like sometimes I feel like we are attached to our needs being met, and is this in a way unhealthy? Because like these are our needs, these are our foundations. So in your view, is this unhealthy to have attachment towards our needs being met? Because I feel like in my view it might be that if we are attached to a specific person meeting our needs, that's not cool. But if we are attached in a way where we know that we need this and we are doing the best that we can to meet our needs, whether with ourselves or with other people, that's actually good for us. So what do you think?
I actually resonate with what you're saying, and whenever it comes to needs, uh, I like to see even emotional needs just like we see physical needs. You don't eat food for some time, and then all of a sudden, after 10 days or maybe even after 2 days only, you would be only thinking of food. Right? You can't think of higher purpose at all when you are just so hungry. Any kind of smell you have, any kind of just glimpse of taste you have, you're going to be craving food again. So I think same happens with everything. You deprive yourself of needs and you're going to want to need them even more, and it's not just going to be a desire, it's going to be a strong craving. So there's this one statement that Osho once said, which I really resonate with. He said that whenever I sit with monks, they're only talking about sex, and whenever I sit with a householder, they're only talking about enlightenment, because that's the need that you deprived yourself of. You understood? So you see that,
That's
right?
funny. That's so
Yeah.
funny.
Exactly. So that's the point. So needs, I would say, you can't choose not to be attached to them. It's like saying that I'm attached to life. You chose, or you are alive, basically. That's all I would say. You are alive, right? You have to be attached to be living. That's it. So you don't have an option very much. You can fulfill those needs, and by fulfilling those needs, you can actually become more detached than just not fulfilling them. If I choose to eat just enough food that is really important for me instead of starving myself to death, the food is not going to have a grasp on me. I'm actually gonna be able to let go of the thought of food, and I can think about my purpose then. Just like that, get your emotional needs met, So this is also very common saying that, don't go for grocery shopping hungry, right? So just like that, don't go for, shopping for your dreams hungry. Don't go for, when you have when you don't have your basic needs met, don't go for, while you're lonely, do not go in search of a partner or something like that. Go for these things when your basic needs are met, so that you don't end up, grasping onto them too tightly. So 100% attachment is not the way, but attachment does not come from not at all being, you know in alignment with that thing. Not at all being, just being distant does not mean that you're detached. Being with that thing and having the capacity to sit with it and see it being fulfilled and still let go of the outcome would be more of a detachment thing.
And also, I want to touch upon this thing where we can't really heal ourselves out of the desire or out of the need. I mean, we can meet the need, and then once we meet it, as you said, we're going to be feeling more whole and feeling more fulfilled, and from there we can take action. But also desires, I feel like sometimes people want to heal themselves out of the desire, and it's true that when we heal, sometimes some desires go away, right? So for example, for me, in the past, I was super anxiously attached, so I needed to spend time with people like all the time, and when I didn't have this need met, I was feeling like negative emotions, right? Whereas now that I've healed a lot of my abandonment wound and other traumas, I feel like I don't actually need as much to spend time with people as I used to, and also I really need time for myself as well. So my needs have shifted as well based on how I have been processing my personality and how I've been shifting inside all the programs and patterns that I have. So this is more like a byproduct, the
Exactly.
changes in needs and desires, and not the aim itself. Like I could not just say, okay, I want to need other people less. I needed to go through all this resistance of not having other people, not having my dad next to me, like, cry out a lot of sadness that people are not there for me or that I can trust them or whatever. And only then I can feel more whole within to not need external connection as much, although I still need it. I still feel like I love people and I want to be around them a lot. But also I now need my own space, right? So I was wondering if you have a perspective on that, or a specific your story or client's story in relation to what I just shared.
Oh my god, you just read my mind probably. I was gonna say that I want to share a client story on it.
Perfect.
So, yeah, perfect. So, you just mentioned about anxiously attached, right? So, we have these two dynamics. We actually have 3 or 4 of them: secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. So, not just in my Dharma coaching setup, also in my psychological clients or any other kind of intervention, this shows up to be a very huge topic. That couple would show up and they would be like, okay, this partner of mine is very anxious. They don't know it further. First of all, I reveal it to them that somehow one of you is avoidant and one of you is anxious, and the avoidant one expects, okay, the anxious one should just learn how to be alone, that's it. And the anxious one thinks that, okay, the avoidant one just should know how to be with people. Why does he have to be all avoidant all the time? So both of these people think that doing the opposite thing mentally will just do the work. Why can't someone just do it? But the point is, we are not actually seeing how we are feeling from inside. There is a very deep unmet need down there. So the moment you say to the anxious partner that, okay, just learn to be alone and that's it, you'll be fine. Instead, if we go closer to them, if we meet their need, that why do they feel abandoned at the first place, from where does that wounding come from? And if no matter what the anxious partner would need is that, okay, no matter what happens, this person is gonna stick around. Once they have the trust, they're naturally gonna loosen up. Same with avoidant partner. If they get enough space and they know they are still loved, they're naturally gonna be wanting to close with people, right? So this rubber band effect somehow ends up going away the moment we attune to other, instead of making judgments and perceptions from the outside. So yeah, needs, this is how they work. So I was recently reading this study with, even with kids this happen, right? That you make a kid just be very, that you can't do this. The more you distant yourself from them, the more they're gonna cling. The more you're like, okay, you are gonna do this, we are gonna be together, we are just super enmeshed, if the parenting dynamic is, the more kid is gonna grow up and be like, okay, I want to be distant. So that safety, the need for safety to feel whatever we are feeling and still be accepted no matter what, that is one of our needs. And the moment we meet that need, the effect goes away. And I think you shared the very same dynamic in this regards. You shared that, you were anxiously attached, and now that that need of yours has been met, you can choose to distance yourself from people when the need be, and you can choose to be with them instead of anxiously having to have people around you. And that's the huge dynamic shift.
Yeah, and you're coming to more and more secure attachment style the more you heal, but I feel like it's inevitable to go through some shitty emotions on the path of, getting this secure attachment. And I'm not saying that I'm perfectly secure, and I don't believe many people are really, because like most people are biased on one or the other side, even if it's only a little bit. But I still feel like we can move towards being securely attached and really feeling fulfilled within and fulfilled with other people, and that not really changing like whether someone is there or not. And I think that that's what I'm aiming for anyway, and that's what I wish for people to aim for, to just feel whole no matter what is happening around.
Exactly. And I really resonate when you say that everyone is on the spectrum. You can't be 100% secure forever, so that has to be always taken into consideration. No matter how much the anxious partner is gonna, no matter how secure you are, if you are with an anxious partner, they're gonna trigger something in you. You can naturally behave like an avoidant at times, maybe, or maybe the opposite effect happens. So we all have some core wounding inside of us. It does not have to be as massive or as small. There's no differentiation between that, but yeah, we are gonna lie on a spectrum for sure.
And it's okay, and we can be compassionate towards
Exactly.
ourselves and be like, okay, that's fine, because we are humans, so we make mistakes and we are on the spectrum, and that's completely fine. All right, my
Exactly.
dear, so I have one last question to you. Where could people find you if they would like to go further with you, go deeper, maybe see more of your content?
Yeah, so I am the major name that I go by is Shaan Holistic. So you guys can search me on Instagram. That is where I'm mostly present. LinkedIn is also one of the places. But that being said, I'm recently going ahead to launch my own brand, Saundarya. Saundarya literally means beauty in Sanskrit. It means inner radiance, inner beauty, and embodying the divine feminine. So I'm soon starting to work on it. So yeah, you can go ahead on my channel Shaan Holistics, or you can go on Embodying Saundarya, and I'm gonna be hosting the same podcast where you are also gonna be the guest. So by the same name, Embodying Saundarya. So I think that should be it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Shaan, for sharing all your perspectives. It has helped me for sure. I'm going to ask myself some deep questions when we are done for sure. And I'm grateful for everything, really. It's been really, really
Yeah.
lovely to connect with you.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing connecting with you, and I'm so happy how magically and how randomly we've connected and how we've ended up recording a podcast together, to be honest. So, yeah, it was such a sweet and meaningful conversation for me as well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, my darlings, for listening to our podcast. It's been a pleasure to talk to Shaan. And Dharma is such a big topic. You might want to check her Instagram to know more about it. And if you want to check me on Instagram, you go to Karolina with K dot Kuraj, in Polish, Kuraj. And if you're interested to join my Master Manifestation coaching program, send me a message on my Instagram, or you can also send me an email at connect@soulfam.com. And also, if you want to follow our podcast on Instagram, it's at We Are Soul Fam. So thanks a lot again, and sending you much love. Have a wonderful day.